all know that feeling of crossing a finish line. Maybe it's a triathlon, maybe it's a marathon, maybe it's something else. But either way, you've worked hard and you've endured pain to reach that point of elation. You feel on top of the world. Listen, we don't mean to rain on your parade, but...
Yeah, definitely. I like to joke around with the other racers when we get done, like some of the racers that use upright bikes and run. I'm like, oh, you use your legs on the triathlon? I'm like, must be, that's kind of the wussy way to do it, but okay,
Who are the Mountain Meisters?
Committing to the goal and galvanizing you and your team behind that one single focus.
Being at peace with that fear and being okay with it.
You gain a real appreciation for your life and for what you have.
Learn about their extreme lives on rock, snow, and ice with your host, Ben Shank.
Hello, Meister fans. Before we really get things started, don't forget, on our website, we're encouraging you to write down your 2015 goals. We're making them public. We're making them happen. Go to our website, MTNmeister.com, and share your goals. Also, while you're there, you might as well get a free audiobook. It's from audible.com. You get it for a whole month. And by capitalizing on that, you are financially supporting Mountain Meister. Thanks. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mountain Meister. I am the host of this podcast, Ben Shank, and today we welcome Howie Sanborn. Howie, welcome to Mountain Meister.
Thank you for having me on the show.
For the listeners who don't know Howie Sanborn, Howie served in the U.S. Army for the 13 years as an Airborne Ranger, 2 years in Iraq helping Operation Iraqi Freedom, and for 5 years as a Parachute Demonstrator on the U.S. Army Parachute Team, the Golden Knights. In September 9th, 2012, he was hit by a distracted driver while cycling and training for a triathlon. This accident left him paralyzed from the waist down, but in typical Meister fashion, he is now competing in triathlons and training for the 2016 Paralympics. Howie Sanborn, welcome to the show. Thank you for the service to our country, and congratulations on being named a Mountain Meister. You are in good company.
No, thank you. It's definitely an honor to be here, and thank you for all your support, too, to the men and women that are still deployed around the world right now.
Absolutely. You may not be expecting this, but if there is one name which screams military or soldier or what have you, I think Howie Sanborn is the name. Have you ever thought about that?
No, not really, but I like to think that it definitely says Army Ranger.
My name is Ben Shank, and I think if there is one name which screams podcast, it's Ben Shank. So was your family in the military? Like Howie Sanborn, what's your past?
Well, actually, I'm Howie Sanborn the third.
Oh,
yeah.
So was your dad in the military?
Yeah, both my dad and grandfather were both in the Army.
Perfect. It makes so much sense now. So would you say that's what drew you to the military?
That was definitely a big part of it. I come from a lot of family that was in the military. Most of them served in some fashion, and then just a desire ever since I was young to serve my country, I think.
Mm-hmm. Airborne Ranger. What exactly is an Airborne Ranger?
It's kind of a very specialized job in the U.S. Army. First, you start out as a infantryman, and then you go to special schools to kind of get the airborne status and then the ranger status. So you have to kind of be definitely one of the more elite. Kind of sets you apart from the rest of the people in the Army. We live kind of by a long creed, but part of it just talks about we move faster, further, and fight harder than any other soldier. So that's kind of what an Airborne Ranger does.
What do you mean by airborne? Like, are you flying something, or are you the one that's airborne?
We are airborne. Okay. We fly in a plane, but then we jump out, and that's how we get to combat.
And are these still used? These were used in Vietnam, right? Are these still used in combat today? Yeah. There's still
airborne units, airborne infantry and airborne ranger and special forces. Since World War II, there's been airborne operations all the way up into Iraq.
Huh. I didn't know that. Learn something new every day. And then the Golden Knights, from what I saw, this is how I would describe it to the listeners, like the Blue Angels, except there are no planes.
Exactly. We're the Department of Defense's aerial demonstration unit for the Army. So just like the Navy Blue Angels or the Air Force Thunderbirds travel around and demonstrate the skills of those branches of service, the Golden Knights travel around and demonstrate some of the skills of the U.S. Army soldier.
Okay. You probably have this conversation all the time with people. I'm imagining you just having, a standard conversation with somebody. Hey, nice to meet you. What do you do? Oh, I am actually a member of the Golden Knights.
Basically, yeah. All the time.
You're still doing this?
No,
Okay.
I haven't jumped since I got hurt.
Okay.
I could. I got pretty big into the paratriathlon as soon as I recovered. Skydiving is obviously inherently dangerous. I didn't want to get hurt and miss an opportunity to compete for Team USA.
I would have imagined that somebody who does this would be like so fired up and intense, but you seem pretty calm.
We definitely get pretty intense.
Oh, yeah?
Definitely.
Does
yes.
anything get you as fired up as jumping like that?
There's really nothing that I found that's quite at the level of skydiving into Monday Night Football game or something like that. But competing in paratriathlon at that level, at that elite level, it's definitely close. So definitely gets the adrenaline going.
How many times have you jumped out of a plane? Normally, like the people that we host on this podcast will tally up like days on their season pass at a ski resort. How many times have you jumped out of a plane?
Just over 2,500.
Oh, wow. 2,500.
Yes. And honestly, on the Golden Knights, that's really not that many. There's a lot of the guys on the team have well over 10,000 jumps. So.
What?
Yeah, they're definitely, the Golden Knights are the best in the world, hands down.
Wait a minute. How many to 2,500? How many days have you lived? And even 10,000? Have you done this like per day calculation? I'm just going to pull up a calculator really quickly.
Well, I started in, December of 2002. That's when I made my first free fall parachute jump, skydive.
So December 2002, that's been 12 years since then. So 12 times 365, 43. So you've basically done one jump every 2 days since then, on average.
And, obviously there's lots of days where you don't jump, and then I've jumped all the way up to 18 times in one day.
18 times. Wow. Oh my! Do you get tired?
Yeah, it's definitely a long day when you jump and repack your own parachute every time. So.
Oh wow! I have so many questions about this. Do you know that like feeling of your stomach dropping? I've never skydived. That's on my bucket list. Skydove, I guess it would be. That's on my bucket list. And I imagine like that feeling of your, whatever you want to call it, your stomach dropping. Do you get that every time you jump out of a plane?
You don't even get that one time. And
really?
So everyone thinks that it's going to be like a roller coaster ride that, like you get to the top and then as it goes over the edge, you kind of feel that speed increase, and that's what makes that stomach feel like it's going up in your throat. So what they do for skydiving is you're going to fall at terminal velocity, which is roughly 120 miles an hour. So they slow the plane down to 120 miles an hour, and that's what you jump out at. So you never actually increase in speed, so there's no feeling like your stomach is, going to come out through your mouth. So you instantly, you're already going 120 miles an hour. You're instantly flying in the air. And
okay, this is making a little bit more sense. But how does a plane only go, doesn't a plane drop? Is it decreasing altitude at 120 miles an hour?
Nope. No, it flies flat and level at 120 miles.
I didn't even know that planes could fly so slowly.
Yep.
Huh. Very cool. Okay, let's get back to triathlons and such. So a little over 2 years ago today is when the accident happened. Do you remember it?
I don't actually remember the accident itself. I have bits and pieces kind of after getting to the hospital and going through the surgeries, but the accident itself and the about 7 miles leading up to the accident, I don't remember.
But I assume you've been told about it?
No one's ever really, I've seen the police reports and I've seen the pictures from the accident scene, but no one's ever really, I've never met the guy that hit me and never really been told really what happened. Like, outside of the fact that he hit me from behind at 65 miles an hour and I hit one of my friends that was riding with me and we crashed in a ditch. That's kind of everything that I know about it.
So you were with somebody else when it happened. What happened to your friend?
Yeah, my teammate, Sergeant John Lopez, was cycling with me that day, and we were kind of riding offset. He was in front of me a little bit. So when the car hit me, it pushed me into him, and we both crashed in the ditch. He got like 150 stitches in his face, kind of the way we crashed, and he also got a concussion. So we both got knocked out and life-flighted to the Columbia University Hospital in Missouri.
Wow, 150 stitches in his face.
Yeah.
Does that go? How big is that cut?
Yeah, it was pretty gnarly. He still got some pretty good scars from it. But it's kind of weird to say, but I'm glad it was me and not him. You never want to see your friend get hurt, and I'm sure he probably thinks it the opposite way. But he was able to make a quick recovery, and he's still on the Gold Knights right now. Traveling the country and performing, and he's on the tandem team, so he's a tandem instructor and taking people on their first skydive. So, I'm definitely glad that that he's okay.
It's very unselfish of you. When you eventually got to the hospital, was this a kind of thing where doctors told you you'd never walk again?
Yeah. So like I said, I don't remember everything, kind of bits and pieces of kind of getting to the hospital and going through the surgeries. But from what some of my teammates and friends told me is I was kind of in and out of it, and they had to kind of keep explaining it to me over and over again. So I don't really remember the first time necessarily that they told me, but I do remember them telling me, that I was never going to walk again. And it's kind of something that no one is prepared to hear, and no one should ever have to go through, certainly. It was really overwhelming to go from Airborne Ranger, a couple tours in Iraq, Golden Knight with, 2,500 skydives under my belt, kind of top of the world, kind of best in my profession, and just literally got my legs taken out from underneath me.
It's 2 years after you're already training for the Paralympics in 2016. Emotionally, did it take you a while to recover from this? It can't have if it's only 2 years from now.
Yeah, I actually did my first race, my first paratriathlon 7 months after I got hurt.
So basically when you were physically able to, you did?
Yeah, as soon as they let me out of rehab, I'd already been training during my rehabilitation. So as soon as they let me out, I went and did a race. I was really lucky. The Army let me do my rehabilitation in Chicago at the Rehabilitation Institute of Chicago. I can't say enough about that place and how well they took care of me and really got me into my wheelchair and independent really quickly and gave me the time and resources to train with Dare to Try, which is out of Chicago. It's a paratriathlon group that was started by a couple different people. One of them was Melissa Stockwell, who's an Iraqi war veteran.
And a fellow mountain meister. 76 for our listeners.
Just an awesome inspiration. And, I met with their team, and they've got a coach for me to get me back in the water. They took me to hand cycling classes, found me a coach to show me how to use a racing wheelchair, and just really gave me all the tools I needed. And I was already really motivated to do it, but that just really gave me the extra push I needed to really get into the sport and get into it at a level that, was going to be more than just a hobby. It was going to be kind of my new passion and career.
Yeah. Was there a funny time when trying to relearn these sports like swimming? I don't like swimming that much, at least for the amount that I've done it. Was swimming just painful, not being able to use your legs? Swimming is tiring enough with your arms and your legs.
Definitely. I mean, I don't think anyone that gets in the pool would swim with just their arms. It just doesn't make any sense. And, I think if you got in the pool right now and tried to swim without your legs, it still would feel it's very different when you can't feel your legs and you can't move your lower half. It kind of does whatever it wants. So definitely learning to swim. I went from training for an Ironman, swimming all the time, 3,000 meters a day, to it was pretty tough to swim 25 meters, down to from one end to the other in the pool, and it was very frustrating.
I would be scared. I think I'd be scared that I wouldn't be able to like hold myself up. I guess I would start in the shallow end, but still.
I definitely grabbed onto the side of the pool a couple of times that first training session back in, but Dare to Try. They found a really awesome coach who also works with the Wounded Warrior, the Army Wounded Warrior team for the Warrior Games.
Mm-hmm.
And he really knew exactly how to teach me, like how to describe what I needed to do to make it so I understood. So once I got over the initial fear of, not being able to do it just at all, I picked it up pretty quick enough that I could race in 7 months.
For our listeners who don't know what hand cycling is, you're basically lying almost flat on the ground with your arms on arm pedals raised slightly above your head, I believe, Howie, and you're basically cycling the way that you would with your legs except with your arms, correct?
Exactly, yeah. It's just a kind of the same system that a bike uses, flipped upside down, and you're literally 2 inches off the ground, still going the same speeds. I've had, my bike up to almost 50 miles an hour on some downhills. And it's it'll get the adrenaline up, that's for sure.
And your back is like 2 inches above the ground or whatever.
Oh yeah, you feel every bump in the road, and it's difficult to see. I mean, your crank, your pedals are literally right in front of your face, so you're kind of trying to look over that and to the sides and make sure that you're staying in the line that you need to be, especially on some of when you're doing just hand cycle races where, there's 30, 40 other hand cyclists out there. You ride pretty close to each other, and I've definitely flipped mine over a couple times.
Oh, really?
It's kind of sketchy, like you're strapped into that thing. So when you go over, the whole thing's just on top of you, and you got to get back on your wheels with just your arms. And
that sounds awful.
Yeah, it's fun. It is a lot of fun. I definitely, if you get the chance, like if you see someone on a hand cycle and they're willing to let you try it out, it's definitely, it's fun. It's a whole different type of workout, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the workout, everything here is with your arms. I can't even imagine how shredded your upper body is because you're doing the swimming with all your arms and you're moving to hand cycling, all your arms, and then wheelchair, again, all your arms. For some reason, I hate the feeling of when my arms are burning, after a workout, compared to, I guess, relative to my legs. I can stand when my legs, butt, abs, whatever. When that stuff is, really burning after a workout, I'm fine. But when my shoulders start to burn or whatever, that feeling when you've been doing a lot of push-ups and you just, can't do any more push-ups? I'm sure you know that feeling way more than I do, Howie.
I know that feeling.
Is that what you're feeling during these races? Just you can't move your arms?
Yeah, I mean, especially at first, when I was first doing it, my arms definitely fatigued a lot quicker than they do now. It's still on race day. I mean, you're going all out. So you feel it at the end, you're barely lift your arms over your head. And unfortunately, when we get, done with the race, we don't just walk off and stretch our arms out. We got to push our wheelchair, back to the hotel. So it kind of never ends, but, there's no break from pushing down to the start line until pushing home. Your arms don't really get a rest.
How much stronger is your upper body now after you became paralyzed from the waist down?
I'm definitely up a good shirt size and a half. So
really?
Yeah. I used to wear small shirts, and now it's medium large, depending on how the cut is. But yeah, I like to joke around with the other racers when we get done. Some of the racers that use upright bikes and run, I'm like, oh, you use your legs on the triathlon? I'm like, must be, that's kind of the wussy way to do it, but okay,
Let's move on to your gear recommendation, Howie. We like to ask all of our Meisters for one piece of gear that they would recommend. Give our listeners something that you are passionate about.
Yeah, I would say carbon fiber. Everything especially for the wheelchair sports, gets a little bit bigger. The pieces of equipment get bigger and heavier. So anything I can get made out of carbon fiber and make it light so my arms don't have to, carry the load, I definitely recommend that. Everything, I've got zip carbon fiber disc wheels on my racing wheelchair to an entire carbon fiber hand cycle.
Do you have anything weird that's carbon fiber, like beyond your sport? Or would you like something weird that's carbon fiber?
Well, I'll say this. First of all, yes, I have tons of carbon fiber stuff. I buy everything in carbon fiber. Even parts of my normal day wheelchair are carbon fiber. But I still want to do an Ironman race. I haven't got to. That's what I was training for. Mm-hmm. And I want to find a tattoo artist after I'm done with the race that can do the M-Dot tattoo and make it look like carbon fiber on my skin.
Wow.
Yeah.
Has that been done before? Have you Googled carbon fiber tattoos?
You know what? I haven't Googled it, but it's definitely been on my mind. Maybe I'll have to look.
Yeah.
Find out what's out there.
Russell, who used to host this podcast with me, also had an obsession with carbon fiber. I don't quite understand it, but hey, you're part of a community, I think, which is important. Yes. So you're training for the 2016 Paralympics in Rio. You're training for triathlon, I believe. What is the event?
It's paratriathlon. It'll be the first time ever that it's going to be part of the Paralympic Games.
Oh wow!
And it involves a sprint distance triathlon, so it's a 750 meter swim, a 20K hand cycle race, and then a 5K racing wheelchair race.
Mm-hmm. And how long does that normally take you? Or do you have a time that you need to qualify?
Not exactly. I mean, obviously, depending on the course, the times vary. I know the top guys right now are racing around like an hour, I'd say around an hour 8. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the goal time for everybody that I think everybody that wants to go to Rio is kind of shooting for. That way they can be competitive for that gold medal. Mm-hmm. And that's definitely what I'm training to get down to. I'm at about an hour 20 right now, so I'm a little off that mark. But, like you said, I just passed the 2-year mark from getting hurt. So I feel like I'm catching up pretty quick.
Yeah. Obviously, these adaptive sports have grown tremendously in popularity and competition as the technology gets better. And that's another thing. I sometimes mention technology on the show, and I'm a huge proponent of advances like that. Like, this is just another example of how improvements in technology allow people to do more things.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely feed off each other as far as,
right, yeah.
As more people are exposed to the Paralympic Games. In 2012, when they were in London, they really got just great exposure and really showed people what para-athletes are capable of. And it's kind of getting really big, which is driving the equipment to change and become, lighter and faster and more advanced, which gets more people into the sport, which gets better competition. So it's just going to get more people to watch it and continue to drive, the para-athletes to get better and better and people to watch it.
For the listeners, if you're interested in checking out other Meisters that have competed in adaptive sports, we've had Melissa Stockwell, as we mentioned, episode 76, Ronnie Dixon, which I believe was episode number 78, if I remember correctly, and also Muffy Davis, episode number 9, Chris Devlin Young, episode number 22. So check that out if you're interested in more stories like that. One question which I do like to ask challenged athletes, Howie, is, you would never really wish this on somebody, but we always hear about how overcoming adversity can make you a better person. How have you changed since the accident?
Yeah, I guess I'd like to think I haven't changed that much. I only say that because, in my military career, I was, always very passionate about kind of being the best of the best, being at the top of my game. So I pushed to be an Airborne Ranger. I pushed to be part of the elite Army Parachute Team. And even after I got hurt, I didn't want to sit around and let life kind of pass me by, So I immediately knew that I wanted to get into sports, back into triathlon, and get to the top level of that. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do by going to Rio to represent, Team USA and continue to represent America like I did before in the military, just a different uniform. But I've definitely learned a lot about overcoming adversity and have a greater appreciation for the other wounded warriors that I've worked with over the years. And I can't say enough about how they inspire me to, really be at the top of my game and push myself to be better every day.
An inspiration to us all. Howie Sanborn, wonderful having you on MTNmeister today. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
For the listeners, check out highlights of today's episode on our website, MTNmeister.com. It's a brand new website, and it looks beautiful. Howie, you're going to have a wonderful picture of you, a quote from this episode, which we'll find, and also your gear recommendation. Howie Sanborn, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to that episode with Howie Sanborn. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to post your 2015 goals to our website. I want to see them. The Meisters want to see them. The other Meister fans want to see them. And there's no pressure. Don't worry about it. Different goals work for different people. So you shouldn't be intimidated, nor should you feel like you're too good to post them on there. Also, if you listened to this episode the day of or the day after its release, I'll be at the Outdoor Retailer Trade Show in Salt Lake City talking to the latest and greatest companies, products from those companies, technology, whatever. It's all there. If you're curious to learn more about something, let me know, and I'll go check it out for you. There'll be a podcast episode released shortly after that, and your question could be included. As always, enjoy doing the rest of whatever you do when you listen to this podcast. Until next time, I am your host, Ben Shank, and you